Welcome back, listeners. Today I am very excited because we are joined by, I don't know, should I call you like the romance guru? Because you really are. We're joined by Amy Daws. So thank you so much for joining us today, Amy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You really are the romance guru. Like, your stories are excellent. Like, when you really, really want to dive into romance, if you haven't heard of Amy, where have you been? Because her books are, did you say have you had 13 bestsellers or your top 13?
I guess I don't know about bestsellers. I've published 20 books. 13's probably close. Yeah.
That's amazing. How did it all start for you? So how did you know that you were a writer, and where did it all start for you?
It's kind of a sad start, but it has a happy ending. My first book was a memoir called Chasing Hope, and it was mine and my husband's experience through recurrent pregnancy loss. We had several second trimester miscarriages before we had our daughter Lorelei, and I'd remembered kind of writing a lot about what was going on back then, and I was writing it like dialogue. Like, I would remember like moments we had in the hospitals after one of our losses, or at home when we were grieving and things like that. And I was writing it all down. And I don't know, eventually after Lorelei, I remember my daughter Lorelei, having her, I remember thinking I wanted to remember all the bad stuff because the bad got me to the good, which was our wonderful daughter. So yeah, I wrote Chasing Hope and I published that. Didn't really have much dreams of sticking with memoir. I'm just a normal person. I'm not a celebrity. I don't like necessarily have a hot take on anything in life, where I felt like memoir was a genre I wanted to stick in. And plus I was an avid romance reader. So I was like, God, I wonder if I could try my hand at fiction. If I could write nonfiction memoir, maybe it'd be more fun to try fiction. So that's how it started. One of my first early novels in my London Lovers series was about a heroine with an infertility storyline. So I kind of used some of my past traumas in that book and worked through it. And it's cool because you can just see me healing throughout my career. Every book gets a little lighter, a little brighter, a little, like more me, like finding myself again. But yeah, I mean, it's still very easy for me to tap into that emotional side in my books, even in my later rom-coms. That vibe is still inside of me, I guess. But yeah, that's how I started.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I love how I didn't actually know that you started with a memoir. There you go. I have to get my hands on that, because I love when there's so much to start from a point where it is so real to you, and to be able to put that into words. And then I love how you said there's still so much of me throughout these stories, even though they're fiction, because you do really see that in people's books, and a lot of people don't own that. And I'm just like, no, it's great, because you're able to put so much of yourself into it. So yeah, so now you're up to your 20th book. Yeah. I think I've got so many questions of how you got there, but what is your process of writing now today, and how do those stories come to you? Obviously you said you still put some of yourself in there, but you're also picking these fun little tropes and going from there.
Yeah. I'm not a super disciplined person in life at all. I kind of stumbled into this amazing career where I can be very flexible with my days and my time. I say that usually, like, I'll release a book, and in it I enjoy that process of releasing and marketing and connecting with readers until my self-hatred gets so intense for not writing and not being productive and not starting a new book. My self-loathing kicks in and I start feeling guilt. And then I finally sit down and try to write another book. It is not a healthy process. I do not recommend, but it's works for me. So yeah, I release a book. I kind of mess around for a few months. I do think it's recharging my creativity. I binge a lot of shows that I didn't watch while I was writing. I read books. I put my ear to the ground and figure out what readers are loving right now. And then I kind of, finally gear up and sit down and get going. So, but it takes me, I kind of release every 6 to 7 months. Yeah. So, but I can't say I'm working on a book for 6 months, because that's absolutely not true. I am goofing off for at least 3 months and then rushing to the finish line for the next 3 months. I don't know why I do this.
Sometimes I feel like that's essential though. I've had a couple of these conversations where I know how you say it, you know, it's not seen as the healthy, or it's not always, the creative process isn't always the quote unquote, I'm going to do this like so many hours and get it done. And it's great if you can create that. But at the same time, I find procrastination and goofing off kind of essential in some places, because that's how you grab your ideas, right? Like it's, yeah,
definitely. And I'm taking a lot of notes. You know, I usually kind of know what I'm going to write next. So it's just percolating in my mind for those months that I'm in sloth mode and just chilling. So it works out well for me, I guess.
Yeah, that's excellent. And what part of it, when was the moment where you're like, wow, this is a serious business for me? Like, you've created a really wonderful business out of this. And you've also, I can tell now, like speaking to you, so you in situations, which also makes it very great to have your audience like super connected with you as well. So yeah, how did that all start?
I mean, I think my Harris Brothers series, my sports romance, is the series that really started taking off for me. And I think it was just really clear marketing on that. It was sports romance. It was four brothers who all played for the same team. It had a hook in its headline, you know? And so I could see that series growing, like every release was almost doubling in success. And finally, like in 1 month of a release, I made more on that book than I had in my day job that I had currently for a whole year. So then I was like, okay, maybe now I should start thinking about making this a career and not having a day job and writing at night, because it's exhausting and never ending. But it was scary. And I kept pushing that deadline back for when I was going to quit the day job, because it's scary, because you just don't know how long you can count on success. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely my Harris Brothers series that kind of catapulted my career.
Yeah. So what was that moment like? You're like, I'm fine. When you say I'm pushing that deadline back, you're like, I know I'm finally going to bet on myself. I can see that this is happening. It is scary.
When was the moment? Gosh, I mean, I remember the day. I remember, you know, like we decided I was going to leave. Like I had a book signing that weekend. And so the last day of my day job was Friday. And then I like went to Vegas for a book signing.
Oh,
and I remember thinking, what a great way to celebrate you know, this journey. But it was also terrifying. But so many of my author friends there could relate. And they're like, you just put your nose to the ground, you keep writing books, you'll do it. You just keep being you. And so yeah, it was totally exciting. And you know, we had like a dollar amount in mind that I needed in savings as like a rainy day fund. Like if all of my books go to crap and no one buys another one of my books, I can survive for a few months to get a new job. Like you come up with worst case scenarios, because this is just such a dream job. And it's such it feels like a fluid job that you can't quite always hold on to and figure out what it's going to do. So, you know, you just want to be smart and safe. But yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky. So it's gone well.
Yeah, that's excellent. And what advice would you give upcoming authors when it comes to building a brand or connecting with your audience? Because I think that's something that you do really amazing with as well. Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky because I'm an extrovert by nature. I don't know if it's obvious. Like I'm like clowning around, you know, I'm like the dancing monkey or something. But like being an extrovert helps me because I'm just very much myself on social media.
Yep.
And I'm kind of a no filter person, and I'm very self-deprecating, and that's relatable content. I think when I really started connecting with readers was when I kind of became famous for writing in a tire shop waiting room. And I don't know if you know anything about that story, but just to give a quick recap for anyone that doesn't, I'd been having a little writer's block. I went to a tire shop for a set of tires, and their waiting room was awesome. And I brought my laptop, and I was drinking all their really good free coffee and cookies. Like it was a swing. It was nicer than coffee shops. And I loved it. And I was like, I opened my laptop, and all of a sudden I was able to write all these words. I'd been going to all these fancy coffee shops and nothing was happening. And here in a tire shop waiting room, it was like a heyday. And so I kept going back. I was sneaking in at one point. I was posting about it on social media, and it just sort of blew up. And like BuzzFeed reported on it, and some national news outlets. Like it was just wild. But I think that like if it was going to happen to anyone, it would happen to me. Like that is my personality to a T. So I think that helped readers really figure out who I was and, connect with that. And that's what really social media is all about, because as much as we're just selling books, it is a part of selling yourself as well.
Mhm.
And that's hard because a lot of authors might be introverts, or they might not enjoy social media and marketing, and they hate that. And for me, it's not that hard, and I do enjoy it. That feeds my creativity too. Like, I get a lot of energy from the readers and their reaction, and so that's a big part of it that I
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you're so right. Like that story too, it's like, it's your fun and your joy that does come through in your writing as well. So
Yeah.
that's really excellent. Is there any other words of advice that you would like to pass on to upcoming writers, particularly those who want to build more of a brand and write longer series and, make it more of a career?
Sure. There's a million ways to be successful in this industry. Like, you don't have to be a top 50 author
Mm.
or top 100 author. Some authors that maybe don't hit the top 100 all the time do really good in foreign markets, or some people have really good audio followings, and or paperback sales, or just local sales. There's just so many different ways to be successful. So definitely don't look at what someone's doing and think, I can't do that because I'm not like her. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
that's not the case. You can find your own way and your own path to being successful in this industry. But the biggest thing is to write good books, to write good books that are easy to market. I think the romance industry as a whole is so popular because it's people that come back because they know what they like,
Yeah.
and we keep giving it to them over and over. And some people think it's repetitive, or that romance is like a formula. And in a way it is, but in a way every story is a little bit different, and it still gives you that feeling in your chest that makes you like warm and cozy and just like love the story. And so find what it is that readers are looking for and write those tropes, like especially in romance,
Mm.
enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, workplace romance, nanny romance, any of that stuff. Those are tropes. And like, for me, I know I love a roommate romance and bridal. If there's like a bridal cover, like a wedding dress, I buy it right away. I don't even have to read the blurb, because and like, we all have that. It's like our instinctual preferences. So you write to those people, and you market to them, and you find that hook to grab them right away so that they give your book a try. So
Yeah.
yeah, write good books, market well with strong tropes, and understand that you can find your success in multiple ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you say that too, because it's like, especially when it comes to romance, and I guess that is why it's so popular. You're selling the experience and that feeling. It's not the book. It's like that feeling and that experience that you're giving people when you know that they're going to dive so deep
Yes,
into the story. So that's excellent.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I really want to know what what exciting stories or tropes. Is there anything you can kind of give away to us of what's on your bucket list of what you want to write? I'm sure there's so many stories that just run around in your head. Or do you kind of just wait for one and the next one and kind of go from there?
I don't. So a lot of authors do. They have a million ideas up here. I'm not like that at all. I'm like a one idea person. This is all I can focus on. Don't talk to me about other ideas. Don't distract me. This is it. I also don't think I'm necessarily a super duper creative person. Like, every book I write, I have to remind myself that I've done this before, because I have imposter syndrome, like, severely, where I just think, God, I'm not as good as everything I read out there. This isn't like, I don't know why people like this. I don't know why people keep coming back to me. So that voice like lives in my brain rent free all the time. So I'm constantly trying to tell that voice to be quiet. So I really just try to focus on the one story I'm working on and try to fall in love with that couple. I'm working on a nanny romance right now.
Oh,
And it's my first single dad book. I don't know how I've written 20 books and never written a single dad, because it's such a popular trope. But I'm actually low-key loving the book, which means it's early stages, because eventually I'll hate it and I'll hate everything, and I'll want to burn it down with my whole house and my whole career and never return. I'm not super dramatic at all.
Oh my God, that is so good. Firstly, okay, there's two questions I have from that. When you say you get to that point of where you want to burn it down, is it because you've read it so many times, you've done the editing, it's like you put it out there and you never want to read it because you've worked on it so much? Is that what it gets to? Or
For me, I think it's because I want it perfect, and usually I get to some point in their emotional journey where I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? I got to like get in his head. And communication is one of my strongest strengths. I don't know if you've done the Clifton Strengths test, but I'm number 2 communication. So I usually have to talk it out with someone. And I'm like, I don't know why he wouldn't just fall in love with her. This is so dumb. Like, why do we write this genre? And like, it's just that moment where I have to dig deeper and try harder and go to a place that's uncomfortable. And like, that's when the magic starts to happen. So the self-hatred is a part of the process for me, at least. Hopefully not everybody. Hopefully other people have an easier time than I do. But I do know usually there's always a point in every book where I hate it. And even when I release it, I don't trust that it's good. I just don't. I don't have that confidence. And I've learned that that's okay. That's also a part of my process. And I have to trust my team. I have a great PA. I have beta readers who will push me and tell me if something isn't working. And so hopefully if I've done all the work, even if I still hate it when it's done, the readers won't. And for the most part, that hasn't happened where readers hate it as much as I do. And usually once I hear what the readers are saying about it, then I start to love it too. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that was cute. I guess they are adorable. Like my prime example is my book Blindsided, which is by far my most popular book. It hit #1 in the Kindle store 2 years later because it blew up on TikTok. That just happened in like January. I hated that book when I published it, and I thought I fell short. I was like, this one just fell short. I had all these ideas and I didn't pull it off. And I published it, and it did really well, and everyone loved it. And now they've loved it again 2 years later. And it's like this whole TikTok thing now. So it's just so funny. Like, you're just your own worst critic, no matter what. And I think that works for me because it keeps me hungry and it keeps me like a little bit desperate so that I'm always trying harder on every book. Hopefully.
Yeah. Firstly, I do want to call you creative. I find it interesting that you don't call yourself creative, because even the way you talk about writing, you obviously let your characters take you on a journey because you get to that point where you're like, oh, what is he doing? You know what I mean? And I think that's definitely creative. So, it
is interesting. It is interesting. I don't identify with that label. I don't know exactly why, but I think maybe I've seen other authors with all the ideas and all of this, and they get so excited and so passionate. I'm like, oh God, I don't relate to that. But I mean, eventually the book gets done, and so I guess, I'm sure I'm creative, but I think a lot of writing, I think ideas are a dime a dozen. There are ideas everywhere. It's you have to sit down and do the work. To really be able to own that label of an author and a writer, and actually put your stuff out there to be judged. And so that's a big thing that I consider myself good at, is like the follow through. I finish what I start, and that's a big part of the battle of becoming an author.
And how do you deal with that, where you have that moment where you're like, I don't know how this is going to see in the market, and you have to just put it out there, let it go and see what happens? Like, that's nerve-wracking. How do you deal with that?
I just hope that if I believed in it, they will too, even though I said I hate everything I write. Obviously that's not fully true. But like, I remember my 4th Harris brother was the final brother of the series, and I had a crazy idea for him, and I've been building him up in all the books, and I was like, oh my God, my readers are going to flip. And basically it was going to be a power switch where the female was more of the dominant and he was more the submissive. And I was like, I can't tell my readers I'm going to do this because they won't follow me. I just have to surprise them and hope that I can sell it in the book. And I did. Like, they loved it once they read it, but I 100% guarantee if I would have marketed it that way, a ton of them wouldn't have read it. They would have been like, no, Amy, I don't want to see a strong masculine footballer be submissive to a female. That's not hot. And I'm like, no, but you have to read it. It is, because there's power in the submission. And, so you just have to hope that you write it well enough to bring them on the journey to make them a believer by the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Like, I can't, like, thank you for everything you create. Your stories are literally so full of joy, and that, like, oh, that romance feeling. So if anyone hasn't bought one of Amy's books, I highly recommend getting your hands on it. I do have a couple of just last questions. Firstly, because it's writer's advice, do you have any just final words of advice for our listeners? And two, where can everyone find you, buy your books, learn more about you, get in contact with you?
Sure. For writers, you just need to finish that book, and you need to make sure you get a lot of eyes on it before it's out there, and make sure that it's connecting with people. And if it's not, go back and add some things in and make sure it's really marketable. I think in my early days, my books, they were hard for me to explain, and that's usually a bad sign that it's too swirly, it's too twisty. There's no clear path. And unfortunately for readers, you have to really have a clear message, a clear marketing trope for them to take a chance on you. So the more concise and marketable you make your book, the better. So yeah, market it with good, strong tropes, and just get it done and get eyes on it. And then as far as where you can,
sorry, I just want to ask a quick question with that. You said you have a team. So who do you have? Beta readers? Who do you go to and trust when it comes to that process?
Yeah, I actually have alpha and beta readers.
Oh, nice.
I call alpha readers are someone who read as I write. My assistant and a couple people that I've worked with throughout the years will just read a few chapters as I'm writing, because my one of my stronger strengths is communication. I enjoy that early feedback, and I enjoy being able to talk out the story with someone. And just to help me get in their head and be like, what do you think Max thinks about this? You know, it's so funny when I hear what their perception is of what I'm writing. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I agree. Okay, let's keep going. So I have alpha readers, and then at the end, I have a beta reader that will read it all the way through, because I make a lot of changes along with my alpha readers' notes. So by the end, I do need fresh eyes to read the whole thing. So usually I have one or two beta readers at the end. And because I have such great alpha readers, usually my beta feedback isn't that intense or a lot of labor intensive, because I've done so much pre-work, and I do edit a lot as I write. That's a part of my process. I just go back and I reread and I rewrite and I fluff it, I call it, and just fill it out more and add more feeling and things like that. So yeah, I have a great PA, great alpha and beta readers, editors, covered. I design my own covers for the most part, but you know, I have great formatters, and yeah, it really does. It takes a lot of people to get this process done. Audio narrators are a huge part of my brand, because I love my audiobooks so much. But yeah, I worked with a lot of amazing people in this industry, and it's just so cool. We can do it all from our own home, and you know, be our own boss.
It's created an awesome brand. Excellent. And where can people find you, lastly?
So I'm on TikTok. I'm all the rage. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not all the rage, but I do love TikTok. I was resistant at first, and then I like kind of joined in, and then one of my books blew up on TikTok, and I was like, oh yeah, TikTok fan for life here. And then I'm on Instagram, and you know, my website, everything's Amy Daws author. No E on the Daws. Those E's get slipped in there a lot, but it's just DAWS. But yeah, I mean, and I have a newsletter that's all up on my website, amydawsauthor.com. And I'm also in Kindle Unlimited. So those binge readers that have Kindle Unlimited can really enjoy that without a huge financial burden. So I love KU for that.
Yeah, excellent. Awesome. I can't thank you so much for joining us today, Amy. I've had the most wonderful chat, and I highly recommend that everyone goes and follows you on TikTok and Instagram and all the places. Get on the newsletter and buy her books. If you are, I know so many people who are just, you know, when you love romance, you're on it. So make sure that they grab you a read. Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you. Bye.